Yo, what's going on? Terrell, Hall of Fame, D-Line, and this is Bully Rant. So, this one, someone asked me, well, several people asked me to break down like pedigrees and how to go about breeding and things like that. Well, one of the issues I'm gonna tell you that a lot of people are having, first and foremost, the heavy amount of inbreeding. What you have to understand is, and I use the term inbreeding, and I mean this to the utmost. A lot of people think just because the dogs don't have the same parents, it's not inbreeding. It very well is. If you properly read that pedigree and it's too much of the exact same blood behind these dogs, in a sense, you went on ahead and you inbred anyway, because the bloods are too closely matched up, just like they would be if you were breeding this dog to a litter mate or, a father or whatever. You're making the blood too close. And a lot of us trap ourselves in a box that we believe that we have to do this to get the look we want or to stay consistent. You don't have to do that. You just have to do a little research, and you have to search through a pedigree and find dogs that has the same characteristics that your dog has. And then, the next step for me is always to check it out and see, okay, well, this dog has a lot of the characteristics that I like. Physically, does his parents, does his grandparents, does his great-grandparents carry these same physical characteristics? And that's the next step. The step after that is I have to find out what are the negatives. What is this dog's family known for carrying that possibly my dog carries some of these bad traits too, and I don't want to double up on those traits. It's a process. And one of the worst things I've seen, and I've talked about this previously, is that I hate when you see a person and they be like, oh, my bitch is in heat, let me see what you got. That's the worst type of breeding ever, because honestly, you should be well prepared and you should probably know who you're going to breed that bitch to, 6 months, a year. Shit, for me, sometimes it's 2 years as to knowing what I want to breed a certain female to. We have to get to that point where you do a research. Another level when you start talking about the breeding process is that you truly have to understand your dog. And what I mean by that is that I've given you a slight example of it, but you need to really focus on, all of the traits and the characteristics that your dog throws, because in a lot of cases you will have littermate brothers and sisters that throw differently. So of course, on the first litter, you don't exactly know what your dog is going to do, but by the time you get to the second and third litters, you should be starting to chart and really figure out what's going on with your dog. That way you can match up what's going on with the stud, or maybe, vice versa, to figure out how you're going to do this and how you're going to avoid certain things, and you're going to get in there. And it all goes hand in hand. It's research. You can study the blood and you can study the pedigrees and you can have the whole right process, but you still have to get back to the individual dogs. I've had littermate brothers who threw dogs totally different. One of them a lot more head, the other one a lot more rear. But you have to know your dogs. Too many people want to get into this thing. As soon as they buy their first puppy, they're a major breeder. That's not it. It takes a lot of work. It takes a lot of study. It takes a lot of dedication to get to this. The blanket terms of like outcross. In the edge blood, you don't have to go outside the blood to quote unquote do an outcross. There are families inside the edge blood that if you study them, they're not as nearly as closely related as you would think. And it allows you to keep that same headpiece or that same overall look without having super tight blood. Gotti is a little harder now because it's harder to find old Gotti, and a lot of the newer Gotti we already know, we don't know. You don't know what's put in a lot of these dogs, so it makes it harder. But, with your basic sense, with these dogs, you have to do your homework. You have to do your research, because you'll be surprised when you do a lot of these breedings. Your dog is going to throw his grandparents or his great-grandparents, and you're going to wonder, well, where did that come from if you haven't done the proper studying on there, I've told y'all before about analytics, and it's the same thing, Go through each parent, each parent, grandparent, great-grandparent, even if you want to go back to great-great. Average out the height, average out the head size, average out this, average out that, You know, what are the odds that the dog is going to be Easty Westy? Out of all these parents, you know, 2 of them had it. Do your basic mathematics and start figuring out your percentages as to what you are trying to expect out of these dogs, and you'll get a better picture of it. I know it sounds like a lot of work, and sometimes it is, but if you're making a superior animal, you have to be dedicated to doing all of the research that you need to do. You know, another thing is breeding out flaws. I don't personally believe in breeding out a ton of flaws. If a dog has all these issues and you think that you're taking that to a clean dog and it's going to take away all those issues, there's a very good chance that it won't take out any of those issues, and you could end up with more issues. You know, you have to be selective in your breeding stock. You can't fix everything. Sometimes a dog is just a pet quality dog and you let him go. You're literally talking about 3, 4 generations, sometimes 5, 6, 7 generations of getting rid of issues that you could have got rid of in the first place by fixing the dog and letting the family member take it or whatever and not breed it back into your program. So, you know, you have to be strict, and you have to have, as I said on a previous rant, you have to have some direction. You have to know exactly what you are trying to do in your program. All of this needs to be taken care of before you ever call a doctor for your first progesterone or any of that. You need to know the exact direction, what you're trying to make, and then you can take all those other elements in, and that's the way that you can get to be what you want to be as a breeder. It's a lot of work, and it's more detailed than even I said on this. I would need about an hour to talk about everything, but hopefully that helps some of you out. Feel free to hit me up. Y'all know Facebook, Hall of Fame Bullies. Instagram, American_Bully1. And, you know, hit me up anytime. Also, Facebook, Terrell Quincy and Quincy Terrell. I got all these pages. But I'm always open, you know, to discuss dogs and help out a program if I can. Hit me up, baby. Peace.